It's like chance time with a monkey. The Nintendo Switch 2 Direct last month was packed with new announcements. And really, as far as ushering in a new generation goes, I couldn't ask for much else. A Mario Kart that's pushing the series in a completely new, inventive direction after its decade-long hiatus, winning me over on concepts I didn't even think I wanted with its open-world design. The miraculous return of Kirby Air Ride, which I never would have believed until I saw it, with Sakurai's return to the franchise somehow seeming even more unbelievable. Incredible third-party support right out the gate with major titles like Elden Ring, Street Fighter 6, FF7 Remake, Deltarune, yeah, I'm mentioning it, and a completely new exclusive FromSoft IP in the Duskbloods. There's the whole game keycard thing, which isn't great, but you know, it isn't great. But with the dust settled, in spite of all the other incredible reveals, there's one that firmly stands above the rest for me: Donkey Kong Bonanza. For the past 2 years, I've been a vocal believer that DK's return was right around the corner, that Nintendo was gearing up to do something big with the series. But even then, I didn't realize just how big they were gonna go. I thought they dipped their toe back into the franchise with an internal department. 2D is where Donkey Kong comfortably sat for 25 years and was his point of origin and rebirth. If they needed to rediscover what made the series great while simultaneously drawing the attention of a wider audience, all without overextending themselves, there was no doubt in my mind that a side-scroller was the way to go. And for what it's worth, I still think that would have been amazing. Nintendo's EPD teams are some of the most talented developers in the world. I'm sure their Donkey Kong game would have been generational regardless of dimension. But this is beautiful. I cannot take my eyes off of Donkey Kong Bonanza. I can't. For all of Mario Kart World's ambitious open craziness and the multitude of this never could have happened before level third parties, this game is what truly makes me believe I'm looking at the next generation of Nintendo. Every element of it feels impossible. It's like the perfect storm of insane decisions all culminating in one beautiful ape. Visually phenomenal. Out of everything we've seen so far, to me, Bonanza kinda dwarfs the competition in terms of spectacle. The Switch 2 Direct made it clear that above all else, Nintendo would be using the system's major power boost to explore new gameplay opportunities. Which isn't to say that games don't look a lot better, they absolutely do, and that's made clear under any amount of scrutiny. But the prioritization of other elements meant that at a glance, this wouldn't be the craziest generational leap we'd ever seen. Look at Mario Kart World, beautiful game, but the power is clearly going into a lot more than pushing that beauty to its limits. 24 Racers is a statement in and of itself regarding Nintendo's approach to stronger hardware. But all of that makes Bonanza's visuals even more impressive. The scope of the world, the complexity of the environments, the expressiveness of the animation. Tropical Freeze was a 2D game, and that already set an incredible precedent for what a modern Donkey Kong game could look like. 10 years later, and I fully just can't imagine anything better than this. It's like the same vibe I felt when looking at the Thousand Year Door remake for the first time, an art style perfected to the point of making you question how they could ever take it further. And unlike Thousand Year Door, Bonanza doesn't have to worry about the technical limitations of a 7-year-old system when it comes out. Before we saw the Switch 2, one of the prevailing discussions I remember seeing was about a potential graphical showcase game for the system, and what it could end up being. Mario Kart 8 was the Wii U's unofficial "hey, look how pretty our games are now" release, which led a lot of people to believe that Mario Kart could fill the same role for the Switch 2. And to be fair, you could absolutely argue that Mario Kart World has earned that crown. Again, very nice looking game, and the open world adds a level of ambition to it that helps in really making it feel next gen. A lot of people, however, myself included, assumed that 3D Mario would be the big showcase. It made a lot of sense. Mario Kart can be stunning, but even in an open world, the amount of active engagement you can have with the environment will always be limited by virtue of being confined to your car. Some random outskirts of landmass will never be as visually impressive as the meticulously designed track you'll be racing on hundreds of times. But a 3D Mario game, at least in its current format, is a playground. You're incentivized to go wherever you want and do whatever you want once you get there. Higher graphical fidelity will always be more impressive in a world with that level of interactivity. And we knew very early on that the Switch 2 would have the power to facilitate just that. A 3D platformer that doesn't just feel incredible, but looks just as nice, if not better. The only difference is that they use the ape. Donkey Kong Bonanza's gameplay pairs beautifully with its visual scope to truly establish what Nintendo is capable of with this new system. It's like I said, new gameplay takes priority over all else, and that's made clear with Bonanza's destructible environment. An entire world that can be broken down wherever and whenever you want, with the damage remaining consistent across the span of the game, is a feat of design that was formerly impossible, made possible by the Switch 2. And it would be so easy to surrender intentionality in the face of all of this freedom, to create a landscape that was a product to be destroyed first and an explorable world second, but everything we've seen from Bonanza so far has shown the opposite. The destruction is a vehicle for exploration. It works in tandem with the rest of DK's extensive moveset to give the player as many options for traversal across these vast, dense environments as possible. All that to say, I'm pretty excited for this game, if you couldn't tell. As a Donkey Kong fan and just a fan of games in general, it's hard for me to imagine an early Switch 2 game that could sell me on the system more than this one has. But putting aside my personal interests, there's a lot of risk involved in Donkey Kong Bonanza, risk that could send ripples throughout the rest of the Switch 2 era. The question is whether those ripples will be positive or negative. I think I've made my stance clear, but let's look at the facts, and rumors, and presumptions. It should be noted that Nintendo's basically done everything in their power to circumvent the inherent risk of creating the first 3D Donkey Kong game in a quarter century. The whole reason I and many others were able to predict that they were planning something with DK was because of the resurgence we've seen over the past few years. His prevalent role in the Mario movie, his Switch-era remakes and remasters, heavy increase in merch, and most tellingly, his entire theme park. Well, that's overselling it, it's more accurately like half of a theme park, which is an eighth of another theme park. But still, Nintendo choosing to prioritize DK for their expansion over something like Zelda or Animal Crossing or Splatoon made it clear that they were aiming to push the series back into the spotlight. And from the reaction we've seen to Bonanza, I think they were largely successful. Donkey Kong is more popular right now than he has been in a long time, and Bonanza itself has the chance to push that popularity even further. But while the amount of risk involved has been mitigated, it hasn't been removed entirely. Unlike the aforementioned toe dip that I expected the franchise to return with, Bonanza is fully taking the plunge. This is a cannonball here. One look at the game makes it clear that Nintendo is obviously putting a lot into it. There's a reason why AAA 3D platformers are a dying art. This is not easy. Or cheap. Especially when the game is breaking new ground, pun intended, on your new system. Bonanza isn't just a player playground, but a developer one too. The ceiling just got a whole lot higher, which carves the way for new ideas, new possibilities. Innovation is the name of the game, and that can't be achieved without a lot of investment. Not just financially either, time, talent, effort. And hey, I'm all for going big or going home, but we also have to consider the new home that DK has seemingly found. Donkey Kong Bonanza has EPD 8, aka EPD Tokyo, aka the 3D Mario division, written all over it. This goes beyond conjecture, connecting UI, gameplay, and structural similarities to their work too, even though that's a factor. Hands-on players at Switch 2 events have come back saying that the game feels like Odyssey. Not one-to-one, obviously, you're a monkey now, but Bonanza wears its inspiration on its sleeve. That's clear in the respect it gives to previous games in the franchise and the most recent game from its production group. Side tangent, I've seen some people speculate it could be next level games, but like, why? I'll happily eat my words if I'm wrong, but outside of some vague font similarities, I don't see any reason to believe Next Level is behind this, especially when they have no history with 3D platformers and just sold 15 million with Luigi's Mansion, which is almost certainly what they'll be doing next. Is it just because it's pretty? It's because it's pretty, isn't it? Same thing happened with Brothership. It's like when animation fans see a smooth 2D segment in a show and go, James Baxter? Like, it's not always him, guys. Shout out Next Level though. And James, I guess. Anyway, we're talking about Donkey Kong, okay. Obviously, if the 3D Mario production group, not necessarily team, is working on Bonanza, the question then becomes, what's happening with 3D Mario? And that's where the risk comes in. Above all other Nintendo series, Smash Bros, Animal Crossing, even Mario Kart, 3D Mario was the prime speculated title for Switch 2. It was the shoe-in launch game, the inevitability, its presence was inescapable. And while we can be certain that it's in the works and has been for a while, just by virtue of how long these development cycles are, the exact timing of its release went from a surefire right now to a question mark. One gorilla versus 100 Mario fans that think a new game is still dropping this year. I can make these jokes because I win either way. Donkey Kong Bonanza's timing is a risk in and of itself. It now has to hold the burden of being the Switch 2's premier 3D single-player experience. We can be reasonably certain it won't reach as many people as Mario does, but even then, what if it doesn't resonate as strongly with the people it does reach? It's so different and fresh, even for Donkey Kong. Can it live up to the astronomical expectations people had for their first Switch 2 era 3D platformer? Can it have the legs that 3D Mario does throughout its generations, or will it fall under the radar once the plumber comes back to reclaim the crown? DK's new design feels like a summation of it all. It's a big change. It took people's expectations and said, no, we're doing this now. What will the result of that end up being? Bonanza is a whole new endeavor. Risk is involved in nearly every turn. This game is surrounded by uncertainty. And I'm here to say, that's amazing. A recurring sentiment this last month amongst the Switch 2 pricing conversations has been that people miss underdog Nintendo, that they feel the company's decision making when they're doing well doesn't benefit them as much as it does when they're less popular. And while I respect the take, if there's one thing we can talk up successful Nintendo for, It's this. A Wii U era Nintendo is not asking their most acclaimed internal development team to forego Mario in favor of a 3D Donkey Kong revival. They're not putting a surefire success on the back burner to try and build a new one. That's something we can only get now, and I couldn't be more excited for it, not just for Bonanza's sake, but as a potential era-defining move. Kirby Air Riders feel similar. While we can be sure that Smash is in development, which we'll talk about soon enough, Sakurai returning to the Kirby franchise to try and bring back the idea is the exact type of creative venture I hope we continue to see on Switch 2. Plus, call me overly optimistic, but I can see Donkey Kong doing really well. It won't hit 3D Mario numbers, but that launch window boost, that brand revitalization, the inevitable critical acclaim that'll accompany EPD Tokyo's latest hit, I'm seeing a cool 15 mil. Could go higher, who knows? Zelda jumped from 9 million to 33 last gen. There's no telling what the future holds for DK. But I'm excited to find out, and Bonanza feels like the perfect gateway to do so. Even more perfect if K. Rool comes back. Come on, Nintendo, you know you want to. He's the ultimate reward. Unless...